Hello everybody, just thought I'd do a video on films that scared me as a child. So these don't necessarily scare me as an adult. Might one or two of them might still be creepy, but some were horror films that obviously, or 18 plus or 15 plus, films I was too old to see when I was a child that I wasn't ready for the violence and things, all the monsters. And then some sort of children's films, but I wouldn't say the whole thing's scary, but there was just one part that stuck out that was sort of shocking. Sometimes in a film where the rest weren't scary, you think, why the hell did they put that in there? And I've sort of seen lists and that online of other people who found the same kind of film scary, all the same parts. So I think it's quite a consensus. But yeah, I was watching something the other day on I think it was Wizard Return to Oz or something. And that sort of made me think of films that scared me as a kid. So yeah, I thought I'd do a video about it. I could do one about ones that scare me as an adult. There's not many, but some as I'm watching, you get into it and it's scary. But I wouldn't say some scare me after. Whereas yeah, some of these are just like I wouldn't say the overall film, even on the horror film, scared me. It was like a certain scene where I believed after the film had ended that it could happen to me kind of thing. So a few honorable mentions I don't actually own. One that what's it called? Ernest Scared Stupid. So the whole film is like a Halloween kind of kids film, not scary, but near the end, I think it's near the end. What's she called? Big Bertha, something like that. But there's basically this woman turns around and looks at him, and her face turns into like a monster, but it's like claymation. But when it happens out of nowhere, it's shocking. And then one, not sure if anyone will know this, called Intruders. I think it was like a TV series about aliens and abducting people. It was like really intense. When I watched that when I was about 11, that really got to me. Right at the same time X-Files was out, maybe, so sort of extraterrestrials were popular at the time. And then Fire in the Sky, which is based on apparently a true story. What's it called? What's the guy called? I can't remember his name at the moment, but basically he got abducted, and in the film, first sort of 45 minutes is quite slow, and then when he's on the alien spacecraft, not only is it sort of intense aliens, sort of realistic looking, but really sort of disturbing imagery and dark atmosphere. I'll see if I can remember his name later on in this video, but I can't think of it at the moment. Trying to think of any others. If any come to my mind, I'll talk to you about them, but I'll try not to take too long in this one. I'll just go over them slightly and what scared me. So RoboCop, it's a classic film. Got the nice Arrow collectible edition. Don't know where the J card's gone. I think it's in the cupboard so it don't get damaged. Yeah, this one when I was about 5 years old or so, I sort of went downstairs in the middle of the night, I think it was, or really early when my parents were in bed, pressed play on the VHS, and it was right at the scene where Ed 209, the big robot, basically says, drop your weapons or I'll shoot, and then he's malfunctioning. So even though the guy drops his weapons, he still shoots, and he sort of machine guns him up. Quite extended, prolonged scene. The guy flies back into the fountain. There's in the office corporate building. It's like loads of blood. Yeah, I think that was like the first sort of graphic violence I ever seen. So not only did that shock me, but then whenever I was sort of downstairs in the outhouse or in the front room, whenever there was machine noises, like my mum using the vacuum upstairs or washing machine going or my dad using power tools, I keep thinking it was Z209 coming to get me. And I guess at sort of 5, you don't really understand, film isn't reality. So I think the first sort of violence I can ever remember seeing. Maybe that shaped my taste for when I'm older, but Beetlejuice, the whole film's not scary. I really like this, but me and my sister used to find the bit near the end. I can't remember their names, but Alec Baldwin and should say it somewhere on here. Gina Davis. Near the end, they basically start turning old, but they're sort of turn into like hundreds of years old really fast. They're in their like wedding outfits, and then they start turning into skeletons, and then their jaw falls off. And yeah, I don't know whether it's some primordial fear humans have of getting old, or just the sort of imagery of it. But yeah, that really bothered me and my sister. We used to we would watch it when it come. We wouldn't hide behind the pillow, but we'd always be like, yeah, let's watch Beetlejuice, but watch out for this creepy bit. Ghostbusters, not the whole film scary. It used to be the bit at the very start. Can't remember the name in it, but she's like a ghost in the library. My sister was 2 years younger than me, so I was about 6, so she must have been 4. And yeah, she basically goes up to the library ghost, and then when she spins round, her face turns all scary, and she says "shush." And yeah, that bit used to shock us. Yeah, the rest of the film I wouldn't say is too scary, like Slimer or anything. Sure, everyone would agree with this. Jaws, it wasn't just scary in terms of obviously you're scared to get in the water because there's a shark. And I kind of knew about sharks before because when I was younger, I had lots of books of animals and fish and nature and dinosaurs that I used to read. but obviously it's different. Sort of, I used to think maybe you had to get in the swimming pool, in the bath, and I guess in your child's logic, it don't make sense that it's not coming up a small plug hole, but it was just still, yeah, it gave me a fear, probably still to this day, of being in an open ocean, not knowing what's beneath you. That's like a real fear I still have. Yeah, also the bit when I think the diver's going down looking for a corpse or something, and then a guy, a severed sort of swollen green head pops out with like an eye hanging out. Yeah, that used to make me jump, and sort of like quite a graphic scene. Yeah, one of my favourite films, Jaws, really well made by Steven Spielberg. Obviously, the shark don't look scary. It's just an old piece of metal, Bruce, I think they called him. But obviously Spielberg's such a good director, he doesn't show you it too much, so a lot of the scenes are hidden and when people are being dragged in. So obviously, yeah, he knew the mechanical shark wasn't too great, so he sort of underutilized it in a good way. Labyrinth, this is one of my favorites. I used to watch this, I think, every day around my cousins, and I used to know every single word to it. And again, it's not the whole film that's scary, it's just that one bit where she's falling down a hole and there's all these hands, like grey hands, and they make faces, like put their hands together to make like eyes and a nose and a mouth, and they talk in like a deep voice, and they drop her. And yeah, that's the only bit I can really remember getting to me. I can't remember being scared of any of the other bits. I think creatures like Ludo and Hoggle I used to like find quite funny and endearing. And you've got Train Spotting. Must have seen this when I was about 14. Again, not scary, but there's the one scene, I hope none of these will be spoilers, I'm sure everyone's seen these films, but one bit where basically the baby's crawling on the ceiling, and it's like head turns around and it gives you like shivers down your spine, and as the baby drops onto him, yeah, not scary, sort of more disturbing. So after I'd watched it, I just couldn't get that image out of my head, and obviously seeing like a baby that's been starved to death in a heroin house is pretty disturbing anyway. But yeah, the way it's filmed by Danny Boyle, really sort of creepy scene. Yeah, I can't remember any of the rest bothering me. Ghost Watch. If I watch it today, it's kind of well made, but why it scared me as a kid is it was on Halloween. I think it was like 93. I can't remember it might say there. 92. So yeah, I'd have been like 8 at the time, and basically the thing in itself was quite creepy, but the way the BBC aired it was, I think at the very start, maybe they had some kind of disclaimer, because it started at, I think it was 9:05, not at 9 o'clock. Everyone missed the disclaimer, and the way they had it set up so you could call into the phone line if you'd spotted the ghost. People were thinking it was real. It basically caused an outrage. Parents are ringing in after it ended saying their child had been scared. I even heard a rumour that one person killed themselves because it was so scary. Hopefully YouTube don't mind me saying that word and block it, but I don't think I get enough views for them to notice. Then, yeah, we were like thinking it was real. And then I think if you did call in, it would come up with a message basically saying the whole thing's fake, but it was played in a certain way. I think a bit like War of the Worlds back in the day. Orson Welles, when that was first broadcast on radio, people that didn't hear the intro, or maybe there wasn't one, just thought it was a real alien invasion. They didn't realise it was a dramatised sort of scripted piece. And yeah, that's the same with this Ghost Watch. So yeah, it's still quite creepy when you watch it now. I don't really believe in ghosts, but yeah, as a child, me and my sister and even my mum and dad watching it, we genuinely thought it was like real footage. I was like, surely it can't be. How are they showing this? So yeah, that one, even after we realised it wasn't real, there was a thing in it called Mr. Pipes that used to bang the pipes like the ghost. And yeah, that used, anytime I'd hear noises like that in the house, I'd get scared because of it. Obviously it was on at Halloween, so that sort of made it creepier. Event Horizon, probably getting on to a bit more of an adult when I seen this, maybe like 14, 15. The whole film's got a creepy vibe, but again, it's just this one scene where I think it's not Alan Grant, what's his name? Sam Neill is crawling through these pipes, and then he basically comes across like his dead wife with no eyes, and the way she spins around and it lights her up, that just not only made me jump, but just really got to me. And then I kind of, because it's quite early on in the film, I was like, oh no, the whole film's going to be scary, and it kind of wasn't, but I found it sort of as a tool utilised to keep you on the edge, expecting, you know, anything creepy can happen at any minute. I better speed up a bit. This one I probably seen when I was like 17, 8. I mean, I don't know how long ago it came out. Probably an adult when I seen this. But it wasn't so much the film. I found the film was creepy, and obviously it's meant to be real footage, but no, it's not. Alien films or abduction films always creep me out just because I do believe aliens could be real. Same as like home invasion, you know, killers, that is real. Whereas ghosts, monsters, demons, possession, I don't really believe in none of that. But yeah, the reason this was creepy is basically there's a thing in it where before you get abducted or after, I don't know whether the aliens erase your memories by basically when you look out, you'll see like a white owl outside your window looking in before or after abductions. And apparently, in like I say real life, whether you believe it's true or not, a lot of abductees do think they've seen these owls. So I was watching it, and when the owls came into play, about a year before, I was riding my bike back from Willsbridge, and that many people know where that is, but it's basically a couple of mile ride quite late at night, and there was a white owl, might have been a barn tawny owl, just white is all I remember, on a fence. And as I started riding my bike, it just flew next to me for literally like 20 minutes straight, just looking at me. So when I started watching it, I started thinking, like, oh, maybe that was an alien owl. But that wasn't the main thing. It was that my mum borrowed it and was watching it, I think, with my sisters who were younger than me, and they were looking after my nephew, who was like 2. Obviously, he didn't know they was watching the film. He came in the front room crying. My mum said, "What are you scared of?" He said, "There's a white owl looking in my window at me." So obviously that creeped out my mum and that, who was watching the film at the time. Don't know if anyone will remember this. It's quite hard to get hold of. I think I got it in CX, but it was quite about 15 secs, whatever you call it. About 15 quid, I think. But Chiller. So some of the stories were good, some weren't, but I think it was the one called The Mirror Man. Yeah, Mirror Man. It's got, what's he called? He's a real good actor. Out of Life on Mars and that. See if I can find his name. John Sim. Yeah, the one called Mirror Man was real creepy, where it's basically schizophrenic. And then the one Toby with, where is he? Martin Clunes, which you wouldn't expect to be in this. But basically, it's about their baby dies, and there's like a phantom baby crying in the room. All the stories were quite creepy. But yeah, I remember I watched this when I was about 9 on telly, back when my dad was like working nights. So then we get scared because just be my mum and my sister at home. This is before I had my younger sisters. Candyman. Whole film has got a creepy vibe. When I watched this when I was probably about 11, did get under my skin, but it was more just I'd get like a tempted like OCD kind of thing to say it in the mirror 5 times to see if he came, but I never would. But obviously, the more I thought of it, it was kind of like getting to your mind. But the bit that really scared me is, without being too graphic, there's a bit where a child sat on the toilet and basically Candyman comes up and rips his penis off, and then whenever I'd go to a toilet, even though I kind of knew Candyman wasn't real, I was just scared that he'd like come up and do the same to me. So yeah, that one used to really get to me as a kid. Jacob's Ladder. I've seen a bit of this while my parents were watching it. I like snuck downstairs and looked through the crack of the door when I was scared to sleep, and this made it worse. Yeah, real creepy kind of psychological film. Lots of horrible scenes. Really good film. People haven't seen this. More of a thriller. I think they've done a remake recently, which it might be good. But yeah, it's a bit basically where he gets taken to hell. But I think it's a bit when a car goes past and there's like a face with no eyes, and it's just, what's the word, like shuddering back and forth. That just used to really get to me. Even when I watched it when I was about 17, it still creeped me out. This really did me over when I was a kid. Stephen King's It. When you watch it back now, it's quite kind of, especially the second half, is quite badly acted and quite funny. Tim Curry is sort of iconic as Pennywise the Clown. But yeah, it was more the scenes just when he comes out the showers or when the blood comes out the sink, just basically made me and all my friends I knew scared to go in bathrooms or toilets. And this was aired as a 2-part TV series. I think it was on like Sky One. Like, it was say on a Wednesday night was the first half, Thursday night was the second half. And yeah, that sort of got to a lot of kids I know. Pet Cemetery 1, another Stephen King. Sorry, yeah, it is Stephen King's book. Pet Cemetery 1, 2, I can't remember being too creepy. Whole vibe of this is quite scary, number 1. It's quite a depressing film with the sort of boy, the little baby gets killed, and it's a lot about grief, and the book is sort of really depressing. But yeah, it was just, if anyone can remember the sister called Zelda, so the way they set it up, she's like a dirty secret kept in the back room with spinal meningitis, and then when she goes to feed her, it's not that she's really a threat. Maybe again, it's kind of a fear of same with the one about getting older. What I said from Beetlejuice is just you don't want to get ill. People are kind of scared of people that are different or people that are sick, and they don't know how to react. But yeah, the makeup and how thin she is and her back's all twisted, that was creepy the first time you see her. Then I thought it was over. She comes back again just in a dream. But then the third time she comes back, she's actually talking. She like says she's going to twist Rachel's spine. She runs up to the camera. And yeah, I had nightmares. I've never really had nightmares over films, but I used to have dreams where I go around my nan's and they'd say, "Oh, we never told you had a sister up in the attic. She's a secret." And Zelda would come down the stairs. Or once I had a dream I was in this cabin. I was like locked in with her all night. Yeah, it's really got to me as a kid. Not the rest of the film, just Zelda. I'd say for about 15 years after watching it as a kid, I just could not watch it again because I just didn't want to be reminded of Zelda's face, although I never really forgot it. And then as I watched it as an adult, it kind of was still creepy, but it wasn't as bad as I remembered. Watership Down. I'm sure everyone, I don't know how this is universal, is a joke, it should at least be a PG. Scary in terms of gore, and it's just so realistic and savage, but I think the thing that scared me is it was probably when I watched this about 4 years old, 5 maybe, probably before I watched RoboCop, but anyway, I think it was like my first introduction to the concept of death, and when the rabbit dies, and the white rabbit, is it called, comes to take it to heaven, and they're playing Simon and Garfunkel's Bright Eyes, that just sort of, yeah, I think it's more of a mortal fear of like, oh, death is a thing that you don't really think about when you're a kid. And then I'd be worried about me dying or like members of my family. Chronicles of Narnia. This is the old TV version. This was quite hard to get as well. A lot of these, I think you can only get on DVD to my knowledge. Whole film's good, not really scary. I remember watching it when I was homesick from school, drinking lemonade, and I remember feeling really sick. I had like a stomach bug, but the bit that really got to me is there's a bit basically where they tie Aslan, the lion, down on this big like stone sacrifice table, and then they like shave all his hair off and stuff. And the way they do it, it's just real sort of disturbing for a child. Return to Oz. This is the one I mentioned earlier. This is nothing like Wizard of Oz. Whole film is quite dark and creepy. A lot of people say they're scared of the wheelers. They're like guys with like roller skates on their feet and roller skates on their hands and masks on top of their head, and they like, if you can see them on the front, and they roll around like laughing and chasing this girl, Dorothy, I guess she's called. She's played by Fairuza Balk when she was a kid. But anyway, that was quite scary. But it used to really get to me is the Queen Mombai, I think she's called Momba. And she basically changes her heads and takes these different heads out of a cabinet. And then when Dorothy escapes, they all sort of come awake and scream. That bit used to really give me nightmares when I was a kid. Dark Crystal. Whole film has got quite a creepy kind of fantasy vibe, but it was more of a Skeksis. My mum said when I was like, after I watched this when I was like 4 or 5, I'd be in bed like scared the Skeksis would come in. I don't think I was scared of the Gelflings, or what were the old friendly ones, like the Elders, I think they were called. It's mostly just the Skeksis. They're just like horrible vulture birds with horrible voices. And then Kroll. Remember I used to watch this around my nan's house when we used to stay around there with my cousins. Again, not much of the film scared me. It's just there's one bit, if anyone's seen it, I might be able to remember, where there's a wizard and he's in their group helping them, and then they start sinking in sinking sand. That bit I used to get scared of. And then I think the Cyclops like sinks, and then I think it's another evil wizard. Basically, Clone puts his hand on the shoulder of the good wizard, clones to be him, and then there's a bit where when he reveals he's evil, his eyes like turn white, and as the people are sinking. And yeah, that bit for some reason used to just really get to me. Trying to think of any other ones. Arachnophobia, I got that on DVD, was going to bring it out to show, but kind of makes you itch when you're watching it because you think of spiders on your feet, but it wasn't like I'd be scared after. Probably other ones I'm not thinking of that I've looked for every one I own, so there might have just been ones I've seen that I don't own nowadays that had a few sort of creepy scenes. But yeah, I guess when you're watching like a horror film or whatever, even when you're younger, you're expecting it to be scary, whereas the ones like Kroll and that bit out of Ernest Scared Stupid is just kind of the only one scary bit. So you're just kind of like, why the hell did they put that in there? There's another TV series, I can't remember what I think it's called, The Adventures of Mark Twain. It was like a writer, but basically it's a bit when these kids went to the moon and they met this thing, I can't remember what he was called, but basically like a computer android face, and it just had a creepy voice. That bit really used to get to me. There's a few bits out of like, Oh, You're Afraid of the Dark that used to be on, that just had a few creepy moments, especially the ghastly grinner, was he called? Was like real creepy. Trying to think if there's any. I might remember some more, but I'm not going to do another video on the ones that scared me as a kid because it's gone on long enough. Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I might come back with ones that scare me as an adult. Like I say, I'm not sort of in bed terrified after, but whilst I'm watching them, there's a few that sort of get under my skin and creep me out, or real tense where, you know, once you're really into the film, you kind of forget it's not real. Yeah, I might do one on that, but yeah, thanks for watching. I'll do another update soon. I've bought some more films once I get paid again. Right, thank you, everybody. Bye.